Hello everyone, welcome back to John Panther Gaming. Today we're going to be doing a tier list of The Walking Dead Telltale Games Season 4, the final season. Again, going to be doing a ranking of the characters. Final season of Telltale Games. Really enjoyed this season. I think for me, my favorite's always been Season 2. Season 1's right below that, but Season 4 was really good. And I know a lot of people really enjoyed it. I know some people who didn't. Um, really enjoyed this season. But yeah, let's get into it. I think to me, we could start kind of in order you find them. Clementine is an S. I think to me, it's the perfect way to send off her character. Again, she doesn't die in the end, but a perfect ending for her character throughout, and you could see the change from her and AJ surviving by themselves to now her being the leader of the group of the kids, the school group, I guess you could say. Well written. The final send off for her as a character. I know there's a comic series. I've heard it's pretty bad, but to me, the ending of her character really well done. Um, I really enjoy Clementine's character throughout this whole season. I think she's really well written, and I like how she embraces that role of becoming the leader after being on the run for so many years. With AJ, and raising him, and so again, my favorite character in this season for sure. I think she's an easy S tier. I think AJ's up there with her. Again, really good character. The very end, the decision you make really affects it. Whether Lewis or Violet survives, um, or Tennessee survives is very much dependent on how much faith you put into AJ as far as trusting his instincts or not. And so a great character. I really enjoyed AJ. It's crazy to think that he's only like 6 in the entire season, and his perspective is interesting from the fact that, and he brings this up when they're talking about it, of he didn't grow up before there were walkers, so that this is the world he's only ever knew. And so to me, a really good character. I really enjoyed his character. I enjoyed this kind of, it's brother and sister, but it's almost like mom and son sort of kind of relationship. In the very end is gut wrenching. It's really sad. Um, at the very ending there, and but again, neither of them die. But that final thing, yeah, it is a really emotional moment there. And again, it's years and hours, and especially if you've been following the series since the very beginning, it's years. Clementine's story has been a years long process, and so I think AJ contributed very well to it, and great character. I really enjoyed his character in this season. Let's do Marlon, another guy you see pretty early. Marlon, uh, you know I'd say an A. I think Marlon's a really well written character. I think you can see how the pressure of being the leader of this group kind of gets to him, and um, how he sacrifices Minnie and her twin sister, which her name is it Minnie and Sophie? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Minerva and Sophie. Um, Again, like how you see him sacrifice them, and then again you see that kind of you know decision come to a head later on in the season, is once this AJ shoots him, and Clementine kind of becomes leader of the group. Again, really well written character. I really enjoyed his character. I think, I'm not sure anyone necessarily disagrees with that. I don't know why you would. I think he's a very well done character in this season. Um, James, another good character. I really enjoyed his. A little more of the whispers. You get a little more of kind of a different view. I mean, through the whole series, we've gotten the view of people that are killing walkers and all that stuff, and so you start to see a little difference of point of view. With him, where, you know, again, I think that a good example is when you're in I guess it's like a barn, but again, he has like, you ring the like wind chime, and so it gives you a really different perspective. I think throughout, especially at the very end, where depending on whether you as Clementine tell AJ to shoot Lily or not shoot him, again, he can either die, there on the boat, or not, and so I think it's important in how you see it. But again, a good character, really good for the series. I really, or for the season, I really enjoyed his character and kind of the morality disputes between him and Clementine. Abel, I'd say a B. I mean, a good villain for the season. Not as good as Lily is, but I think a good, well written villain. Um, really enjoyed him in the final one. I think that interrogation scene is kind of crazy. To me, it's kind of crazy, that interrogation scene. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, you could go pretty hard into torture there a little bit. I think that Abel at the very end, where he's begging you not to let him become a zombie, is kind of, I think, for anyone, if you put yourself in that situation. Obviously, I don't think any of us are as bad as a person as Abel is, but I think no one would want to be a zombie, and so I think that decision at the very end of whether Clementine lets Abel live or kills him, to make sure he doesn't turn, because he's like, oh, he's inside, he's probably got internal bleeding from that fall from the ledge. But again, I think that decision's a little, um, I think it's you have to make that decision. You know what I mean? So I think it's just you have to make the decision as far as what goes with it, and I think it poses a lot of morality questions, as far as it goes. And again, really well, written character. I really quite enjoyed him as a character. Um, but hey, we'll keep going. Brody. Ah, man, I think a B, but a lowest of the Bs probably. Um, her and Marlon's an interesting dynamic because again, she knows that Sophie and Minerva got given over to Lily and Abel's community to fight in their war. Um, and so again, I think is a really well written character as far as that goes. You could see the manipulation between the two of them, which I think shows a little more light on how you know abuse can take place over years. For example, between the two of them, and where again, Marlon's maybe not necessarily a bad person, but he definitely emotionally manipulates Brody into basically shutting up and being his accomplice. And so I think to me it's again, well written. I think she's probably the lowest of the B's, but again, I didn't not I enjoyed her character, but again, she dies pretty early. Asim, there's a couple of these school ones I'm going to put near the bottom. I think Asim's one of those C's. I think there's a little more. I mean, near the end, there's a little bit more to him and to Ruby, um, but I think he's more of a C to me. Not really anything to it. I think the same for Omar as well. Again, two characters. I'll even take the same for Willie. I think the three of them are easily the weakest characters um, in the group as far um, as the school kids go. I think Mitch is. I think Mitch is probably a B. I think there's a little bit more to his character. How he dies is or Lily shanks him in the throat. Kind of something different, but I think he's definitely above the three of them. I think if you put a Seaman up in there, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. Omar is definitely at the bottom of the group, though. But again, I think he's a little bit better than these bottom three, and I'll put Ruby up just below him. I'm gonna move Brody to the bottom here. I'm gonna put Ruby just above him. I think Ruby is well done. Um, you see more and more onto it. In the very beginning, you're like, man, she is an absolute like jerk to AJ. But as the season goes further along, you start to get to know her character a lot more. Um, Again, really enjoyed her character. But again, 10. I'm going to put him at an A, probably the bottom of the A's. Well written, he sucks. He's not as like a detriment in terms of like take Ben for example from season one, to where he purposely runs away and gets other people killed. He's not like that, but he again at the very end where Minnie is manipulating him and he's just standing there, and depending on whether you trust AJ or not is whether Lewis or Violet get killed. Oh, I trusted AJ, so he shot 10. Um, and so again, him as a character, well written. You could see the manipulation. There is a good friendship there, but I think that shows you the difference between someone that was raised, by Clementine in the harshness versus someone who was raised kind of in the school group where, yeah, it was harsh, but there was still kind of the layer of protection there, for him. And so I think 10, I think he's an A character, but I think a frustrating character at the very end, and especially where AJ when after he shoots him and either Lewis or Violet are like, why did you do that? And he's like, 10 was doing 10 shit, man. He was gonna get someone killed, and so I think to me it's again well written character, um, definitely above these, but I wouldn't say he's as good as Marlon or James. I'm gonna put James above Marlon there. But yeah, I want to say this is Rosie the dog. Good dog. I'm gonna put her at A. Good dog. Um, Not a whole lot to say about her. These last four, I'm gonna put them all in S tier. I really enjoyed. I think I'm gonna put. Yeah. I was thinking about putting Minerva right here, but I think I'm gonna leave her here. I liked Violet better than Lewis, and then Lily at the bottom there. I think that's a good one. I think for these final four, Lewis and Violet again get kind of different things depending on how you play. In the ending, he can either have no tongue or she'll be blind. It's kind of a different things there depending on your choices. But Lily, after Abel, she kind of becomes the main bad guy. Up until the end on the boat where you either tell AJ to shoot her or let her go. Um, but again, I think to me, Minerva is easily um, has the most ominous ending. Where she was singing that song that Violet sings when the group of friends like get together. When she was singing that song, walking across the bridge was easily one of the coolest like parts of the entire series. When I think of like memorable parts of the series, I think of Minnie singing with the axe, walking across the bridge was something else. I mean, that was really cool. I think she's a really good character. And again, the story is really cool, for her, and it shows how again she was forced, and Lily talks about how she was forced to kill, her twin to stay alive, and I think it shows you how even good people, if they're put in horrible situations, can make horrible decisions and eventually, you know, their environment and the trauma turns them to do horrible things. So I think Minerva Minnie, I think she is a great character for this season, and really finishes it strong. Because I think they're at the very end, where it's AJ, it's 10, it's Clementine, and one of either Lewis or Violet. Again, you're walking back and you're like, you've seen her get bitten, so you're like, and Lily might be dead or alive, but you're like, hey, we're good. We're gonna walk back to the school, we're good, and she comes singing across the bridge, and immediately it throws you in that where you're like, holy crap, because this is show immediately. You just hear the singing, you're like, oh crap. And so it's just a great character. And, in this season, probably my favorite character of the season. Her and Clementine, easily my favorite characters of the season. But again, I think these people make the season. They really do. They make this season really well liked to a lot of people. Especially that ending with the four, depending on whichever one you chose, the four there at the very end with 10. I think it finishes out the season so well. But again, let me know in the comments. I know there's not a lot. This season didn't have a lot of characters. I think that came from not a lot of money to hire a lot of voice actors to do it. But again, let me know what you think. I really enjoyed this season. Some great characters from this season. But let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you guys next time.